Okay, so I'm going to make this video mainly because I couldn't find any videos explaining how to work on replacing your battery cables on a 94 YJ, which I have. I've seen other videos for all kinds of other Jeeps, different years, mostly newer Jeeps, but I couldn't find one that was specifically for my year and even for a YJ. And so I wanted to make a video that just, one, documents what I'm doing here, but also maybe it'll help somebody else in my situation that thinks they need to replace their battery cables, or at least show them what not to do if I screw this up. I'm not a mechanic, but I do work on my Jeep myself, and if it involves nuts and bolts, I think generally I can work on it. Anything more than that is a little out of my league, but I'm going to give this a go, even though I know very little about the electrical system. So let's get started. So the reason I think I need to replace my cables, they are, I've cleaned them up as best I can, but what I'm seeing here is still some corrosion inside these old cables, and my starter, which you can maybe see down there, is just coated with oil. I have a leak, but I'm having hard start issues. Not hard start, but a slow first crank. And my battery, I know, is good because I've had it tested. But from what I've seen online is that if it's not your starter going out, then it's most likely the cables. And so I'm giving this a go to replace the cables. Now I bought this 7-cable setup from jeepcables.com. It was kind of on a whim. I looked it up. They look like really beefy. They're 2-gauge cables, should be good to replace everything. This is a new fuse that comes with the kit, but it's replacing 2 fuses in the fuse console, so I don't know where this is supposed to be installed, and I hope I can get that right. I do like that they have new military grade connectors, and I like the fact this is veteran owned US company. First thing I need to do is disconnect the battery terminals, starting with the negative 1/2 inch. I do have a lot of grease, so I'm going to get started with degreasing a couple areas here. Ooh. So these are the new terminals, and before I put wires to them, I just wanted to show that these are tapered. They're wider on one side and narrower on the other side. That way your posts are also the same. They are wider at the bottom, narrower at the top, so that these can only go on one way. If you try putting them on the other way, they'll fit. And that's the negative. It's smaller than the positive, so if you tried to put them on the wrong side, they don't fit. But if you do them the right way, they fit. Okay, battery's disconnected, and I took out my fuse box holder by just sliding it out this way. And start this wire replacement. Okay, first cable. This is the negative battery terminal cable, and it's connected here, but it's not the way I want it. Yes, that is the way I want it. And now I gotta undo the engine block negative terminal with the 13mm socket. That's the negative battery to the engine block cable cleaned and installed. This one, I wasn't even sure where this one was, and I just found it by looking online, but this is cylinder head to firewall, and that's this strap right here, which I've seen people talk about, you know, it wears out. It does seem, I don't know if you can see it, but way down at the cylinder head, it looks like it's coming apart. So that might be where my problems are coming from. Maybe. We'll see. I'm just going with whatever fits here, and it looks like an 11/16 long socket. Needs to be used with an angle joint to get back in there for that. So I'll give that a go. That wasn't working, so I just replaced it with a shorter extension straight here. That seems to go better. So this is the cylinder head cable, and if nothing else needs to be replaced, that definitely did. Look at that. It's probably going to improve at least the ground in this Jeep. Replace the cylinder head to firewall, and it's doesn't really have much of a path. It just kind of goes. The next cable I did was this one that says fender to battery negative. So I've got two battery negatives coming off the negative terminal. One that goes to this, it says fender, but it's on the firewall. And then the one that goes to the engine block here. So those two are the main negatives, and then I did also that firewall to cylinder head. So those are the three main negatives that I've replaced. Here are the three cables I replaced. This one obviously has the need for it. These cables are obviously a lot less smaller gauge wire than the big beefy 2s that I'm putting on. So hopefully that improves things. It gives me room to add a winch someday. Okay, so negatives are all done, and the positives are what make me a little nervous. This one says PDC to battery terminal, which is this replacement here. Battery terminal PDC, and I've got a cut in 94. It says it's unique to this year. I have to cut this little metal piece off and put this on one of those posts there. And then it goes to battery. Then the other one goes on PVC to fuse, which I take it means this fuse here. And then this fuse goes in between alternator and fuse. So somewhere this goes in somewhere, and then a wire goes to this alternator right there, and I have to trim this piece, this shroud. So a little nervous about all of that. Which is good, and this is the starter cable. So that's the old one. Here's the new one. Since this was caked in grease, I'm going to make sure the connection down here on the starter is nice and dry and clean. Okay, this is where the area of no return here, where I cut this post from the old wire to battery. And I don't know if this is going to work. Pretty thick. So I used a Dremel. And just cut that off, so there's that. Alright, so I'm installing these, this fuse, the wires on this fuse, and okay, there's that, and then I'll just put these covers over it that come with the set, and that'll be my inline fuse. So what I've done with the positive so far, ran this one down to the starter, which we looked at. Got this short piece here that goes to this top fuse block here. The bottom one I put in, so I just installed that fuse, and I ran it back here because it kind of seems to make sense because it's a lot longer now, and it can go under and over to the alternator here, which I have to still install that. The other thing it says about installing this fuse, this new fuse, is that I need to remove these alternator power 1, alternator power 2 fuses, which are this 50 here and this 50 here. So those have now been replaced with that big fuse. Alright, here's the alternator wire. I just took off this one, and now to take off the shroud, there's another. So with the alternator shroud off, this is what it looks like. Smaller than the new cable, so you have to cut off these edges here on either side and make this fit in. So I'm going to get my Dremel and that's why you wear eye protection. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, as you can see, I cut off those two tabs here, and it's just barely too big, so I'm gonna trim off those sections. Alright, I trimmed a little bit more, and this now fits right in there like that, so I'll put that back on. No sparks yet. Everything's in. Everything looks good. Again, negatives to the engine block. What they say is the fender, which is up there. Firewall to blockhead. Got the fuses and the new fuse down there running through to the alternator. That should be it. A moment of truth. Okay, that's good. Okay, so this was fairly easy, if not just a little daunting for a first timer, just because I had to, cut cables and snip things, and I'm always afraid of doing something irreversible, but this was fairly easy. It did take me several hours only because I go really slow. If I were to do it again, it maybe would take me an hour. But yeah, it's I think it's worth it. I don't know if it solved my slow crank startup problem, but if nothing else, it replaced that grounding cable that was about to break anyway. And now I have peace of mind that these cables are going to last, and I can add any kind of electrical component in the future. And let's give it one last crank and call it good.